Hi guys, I'm Saumya and I'm back again with another video. I hope you're all doing well. I make a lot of bookish content on this channel, so if you are a book lover and a reader, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and don't forget to click on the bell icon. So in today's video, I'm going to recommend 5 short stories books to you guys because short stories are amazing. They are so much fun. You end up exploring and traveling through these short stories so much within one book, and they don't require the kind of commitment that a novel does. I think short stories are perfect, especially if you are going through a reading slump, and even if you're not going through a reading slump, a good book is always welcome, right? So let's begin the video. The first book is The Greatest Goan Stories Ever Told, selected and edited by Manohar Shetty. So as the title of this book suggests, these stories have been written by Goan writers, whether they are living in India or abroad, and these stories are about Goan people taking place in Goa for the most part. So as far as Goan literature is concerned, this was my first foray into reading a book that is centered around Goa. Obviously, Goa as a state has gotten a lot of representation in our pop culture, in our movies and shows, but books are a completely different scene as far as I am concerned. So I loved reading this book, and it's not just because of the newness of this topic, but these stories are genuinely engaging and memorable. As soon as you finish one story, you immediately want to go on to the next one, and before you know it, you end up finishing this entire book. The next book is the fairy tale book of Dazai Osamu. So if you are familiar with Japanese literature, I'm sure you know about Dazai Osamu, and this is not his most famous book, but I must say this is the only book that I've read by him. I'll definitely explore his other books. So this is a collection of 4 Japanese fairy tales, more precisely the retellings of 4 very famous Japanese fairy tales. So for me, these fairy tales were completely new, obviously, because I don't know much about Japanese folklore and fairy tales. But anyway, this book is amazing in every sense of the word, because when you think of fairy tales, you think about something unique, magical, and something that transports you into a completely different world. So this book does a fantastic job of doing that. All 4 stories are so different from each other, and each story leaves you with something to think about. And this book does not have any hype. Actually, I seldom see anybody talking about this book, but it deserves the hype that it doesn't have. The next book is Hyperbole and a Half by Ali Brosh. So this is a collection of stories from the author's lives, different mishaps, different incidents that she has compiled in this book. So this book is kind of like a graphic novel as well, like not entirely, but it has a lot of illustrations, but it also has a lot of text as well. So these illustrations are really silly, and that makes them really funny. The way these illustrations go along with the text gives a very good experience to the reader, in the sense that this book is very, very light-hearted and ridiculously funny. It's the sort of book that you pick up on a bad day, and this book will basically make you forget whatever spoiled your mood. It reminds you that you should not take life that seriously, and I definitely believe in that philosophy myself, because a lot of times life is quite funny, even if it doesn't seem like it in the moment. Some bad incidents definitely turn into a funny story to tell. So this book is a reminder of that. The next book is Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory by Raphael Bob Wexberg. So that was such a long name, both of the title and the author, but I got through it. It's a collection of short stories on the topic of love, but these are not your regular mushy romantic short stories. These are actually quite offbeat, surprising, and on the whole more interesting because of that. And I forgot to use the word weird as well, yes. So I picked this book up because it has been written by Raphael Bob Wexberg, who is the creator of BoJack Horseman, and BoJack Horseman is my favorite show. So if you love BoJack Horseman and if you haven't read this book, then go for it. This book has the sort of vibe that I felt was there in BoJack Horseman as well. And what is that vibe? Gloomy, a little bit depressing, realistic, but at the same time engaging. The next book is Bombay Balchao by Jane Borges. Now, this is a collection of short stories. It has 12 chapters, and they are all individual episodes in themselves, but they have to be read chronologically. Why? Because even though these chapters are individual stories, but they sometimes make a reference to what happened in the previous chapters, and also there are recurring characters, and these chapters are all taking place in different timelines, but there is a common thread that goes through the entire story. Overall, since these are different stories, I'm categorizing this book as a short story book, but read it chronologically. So these stories are taking place in a Catholic neighborhood in South Bombay, and these stories have a theme of love, heartbreak. We read about the lives of different characters. It's like a glimpse into a completely different culture, especially if you're not aware of the Catholic culture, if you're not familiar with their culture. The writing is amazing. Overall, this is a book that I recommend that everybody can go for because it's entertaining. It's also quite intense. It also makes you smile, it makes you cry, it makes you angry sometimes. Overall, this book gives you a very wholesome experience. So that's it. This was my recommendation video for 5 short story books. I hope you give them a read and let me know how you like reading them. So that was it for today's video. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description. I will see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay safe.